You've probably watched a show or movie, loved it, checked the reviews, and apparently it's the worst thing that's ever been made. Was that movie actually that bad? Do I not have taste? And it does make me think, does being more connected than ever before affect the way that we watch, read, engage, and feel about media? Yes it does. Humans have never thought in isolation. Most complex beliefs are shaped by other people. Values, taste, and interpretation are all social. But what happens when you have access to thousands of opinions before you get the chance to process what you just consumed? What actually made me make this video was a Reddit post I came across. I know, an opinion influencing my opinion about opinions. If I decided to look at the reviews of a film I watched, and some of the reviews oppose my own opinion, the reviews would make me change my own opinion about the film, even if they don't make complete sense to me. Now, this is probably on the more extreme end of things, but I think most of us can relate to this to some extent. We're constantly navigating through other people's opinions immediately after consuming media. The comments on the post were kind of mixed. Some people agreed, some people disagreed. But there was one really interesting comment. That's just normal to change or adjust your opinion when reading legitimate and plausible arguments or criticism. And yeah, that's a good point. Genuinely, I love a good discussion. Following the discourse around a show can be a really big part of the fun. Sometimes I'll dislike a writing decision only for someone else's opinion to not necessarily change my mind, but at least help me understand why certain decisions were made. And yeah, even sometimes change my mind. So the discourse itself isn't really an issue, and the potential influence that discourse has isn't an issue. What I'm interested in is what happens when that influence becomes constant and immediate. Because that's really what the modern media landscape looks like. You finish a movie or show or book or game or something, and before you've even fully processed what you think, you're now exposed to what everyone else thinks. And that's a really stark contrast from what it used to be. In 1980, I just picked a random year by the way, if you watched a film in a cinema, the amount of opinions you were exposed to was mostly delayed and thin. You might talk to a few people about the movie after, read a critic's review in the paper within a couple of days, but for the most part, that was it. That's not to say that there weren't like film clubs and book clubs and people who discussed media, but let's be serious, okay? It doesn't compare to this. Public consensus generally formed slowly and locally. In 2026, that delay is almost entirely gone. The moment a film drops, or even before release in some cases, you're inside a dense cloud of reactions. You have access to everyone's opinions. And everybody has an opinion, even though some of y'all opinions are. So the timeline of knowing other people's opinions compresses from days, weeks, even months, to hours, maybe even minutes. Henry Jenkins, a prominent media scholar, mentioned that we live in a participatory culture. And this is why discourse is at the center of the modern media consumption experience. That was a mouthful. When a movie comes out, we watch it and, react to it. But we also watch people react to movies, all while participating in the discourse ourselves through likes, shares, comments, and videos of our own. So you're reacting to the piece of media, right? But you're also reacting to the conversation around the piece of media. And all of these opinions can easily influence how we interpret the media that we consume. So what exactly does this environment do to how we engage with media? Well, there are a couple of things. Sometimes media is intentionally open-ended, and viewers are meant to ruminate after consuming it over the next few days or whenever you think about the piece of media. And then there's also a loss of wrestling with ideas. Sometimes a show, movie, book, game, whatever it may be, presents a morally gray or complex character and leaves you to figure out how you feel about them. There are no correct opinions per se, but now there's the issue of social proof. On social media, one opinion can dominate the conversation. if it gets enough likes, or if the person making the video is just really well spoken. I could be feeding you lies right now, but if I say it with enough confidence, somebody will believe me. So even if you have an interpretation that's actually faithful to the plot, story, or lore, you might end up revising it for a more socially accepted answer, even if that answer doesn't make any sense with what the show or movie aimed to establish. And again, I'm not saying that these discussions are bad. In fact, I think in some cases we're meant to discuss these things, but when you start engaging in these conversations as the credits roll, you don't get to sit in that discomfort of not knowing what the right answer is. But it's not all doom and gloom. This participatory culture allows us to see new perspectives and catch things that we might have missed while watching. It can be especially useful for Easter eggs, references, and just other details that you might miss. And also, it's like a shared cultural experience. Fandoms and online communities have been a really positive space for a lot of people. So this isn't really a case of online discourse being this evil thing that we need to avoid at all costs. But it brings me to the actual question of this video. Can we have unaffected opinions? And do we even need to? I mean, you can watch a movie and decide to just stay offline. Like, I'm sure some people do that. But I'm not sure that's really the point. The biggest change isn't that we're influenced by other people's opinions. Humans always have been, and we always probably will be. The difference is how fast we are being exposed to these opinions. You can genuinely go through this life without having to think for yourself. Like, some people don't engage with critical thinking, and we can tell. So again, I don't think the goal is some pure, untouched opinion. I think it's just noticing when your opinions start being influenced by other people. Like, I read that comment and that changed my mind, or I watched that video and it changed my mind. Taking time to understand why you feel the way that you do and why you arrive to the conclusions that you do. We should probably know what is influencing us. I want to be able to pinpoint when and why my opinion changed. So, are you going to read the comments now, or do you need a minute to decide how you feel? What are we doing here?